Winter forecaster Steve Boyle here. Well, things are going to get interesting, and let me tell you, there will be some areas that are going to just go hog wild with the snow before we change over to some rain with this upcoming storm system. By the way, if you want to check out my official winter weather outlook for this winter 2016-2017, make sure you check out the video that's going to be uploaded after this one. So check that out. There's gonna be a lot of good stuff in there. However, for this one, there's gonna be a lot of good stuff too. So make sure you are relaxed. Grab a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, a hot cocoa, something. Sit back, relax, and relax. We have a lot to talk about. This storm system is concerning for some folks. Now, not to say this is going to be devastating or it's going to be record-breaking snows, but let me just tell you, some folks are going to pick up a good amount of snow with this. Okay, so let's get into what I am thinking here. So here is our storm system. Beautiful storm system. Let me tell you, this is gorgeous. I love the look of this storm. This is moving in a fashion where this will allow for some areas to really get some good snow. If this were to be occurring during the winter time, we would have been talking about widespread foot-plus amounts with this. It would have been phenomenal, a phenomenal snowstorm. But of course, we're in October. But even for October, this storm is going to be really good, okay? Now, here is the current observations, okay? The big thing here that is driving this to produce snow is this good old broad high right up into Canada. That is one of the biggest characteristics you want to see for a snowstorm. A big broad high over Canada. Because when you have a big broad high like that, you know you're setting up the stage for snow to fall. So we've got cold air, okay? Now, in a minute, I will tell you some of the criteria that you're looking for when it comes in terms of getting snow. But before we get into that, I just want to show you here. So here's where the warm front is. There is some good warm air coming up like this. But at the same time, we're getting cold air draining down from Canada. And this is important because where these two meet, where these two air masses meet, is where you get lift. And when you get lift, and you get precipitation. And if it's below freezing, it's going to snow. With this type of high pressure, this is an Arctic high. There is no going around that. This is an Arctic high. I want you to look at this observation up in Canada. This is just outstanding. Air temperature of 12 degrees, dew point of 10. That is pure Arctic cold. And that is the type of air mass we are dealing with here. I checked out some observations across Massachusetts this evening. Incredible. I mean, we have 20s across a good chunk of Massachusetts away from the coast. We have this cold air entrenched in Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, and New York. Okay? We have this cold air entrenched. Okay? That is the big player here. The other thing, look at these observations across the Gulf of Mexico, and that's where this warm air mass to the south of this warm front is coming from. We've got 80-degree temperatures with dew points of 66. I mean, even coming into parts of Georgia, 75 with a dew point of 64. I mean, this is incredible. This contrast from this type of air to this type of air is just incredible. When you have these two types of air masses colliding, you are going to get something. And it's already starting to show into parts of New York here. We've got a good old band of snow forming. And it is pretty nice. It's got a very good look to it. And this will continue to move its way eastward as the overnight progresses and the morning. Okay, so there are 3 criteria you need in order to get snow. Any time of the year. 1, cold air. Arctic injection. And we have that. As one of my all-time favorite meteorologists says, Bernie Rayno, in order to get snow, you need an Arctic injection. An injection of cold Arctic air. And this is cold Arctic air for October. This is an Arctic injection. I mean, this is purely coming out of Canada. So you can go ahead and check off Arctic injection multiple times. Criteria number 2. Do you have energy? Absolutely. When you have temperatures, anywhere between 20 and 30 degrees with dew points into the 20s and temperatures to the south of that into the 50s, 60s, and 70s with dew points around the same, there's energy in the atmosphere. So that's number 2. Number 3, do you have moisture? Well, I think we can all see we have moisture. Plenty of it. Something to mention, on top of the winter aspect to this, not really focusing on this aspect of it, but there's going to be heavy rain. Very heavy rain. We're going to be talking about over an inch or two we're going to be talking an inch or two of rain. Okay, which is a good thing because we have a drought here into the Northeast, so that will really alleviate the drought conditions. Winds with this thing is going to deepen as it works its way east, and that's another reason why we're going to be able to pick up snow into some areas. So these 3 things combined together, that we know there's going to be snow. So that is a certain. It's already happening. Now we can sort of get into specifics. Okay? So when is the snow going to stop? Where is the most snow going to occur? And what types of precipitation? And, these sorts of questions, specifics-based questions. And you really can't answer that until those 3 general questions are there. So we can now go ahead and answer those specifics-based questions. And the way to answer those is by looking at what's going on into the upper levels of the atmosphere. We're first looking at the temperatures at 1,000 feet, because 1,000 feet is not that high up. Okay, I mean in atmospheric terms, it's not that high up. Okay, so we want to look at the temperatures at about 1,000 feet because if the temperatures are, it could be freezing. It could be, if it's freezing at the surface and it's above freezing at above 1,000 feet, this is going to dictate if we get freezing rain. If it's and then we also look at 5,000 feet, which we'll show you in a second. But this is important. Okay, now we got to also outline where is the temperatures at the surface not going to be optimal. Because it could be, the atmosphere can be right for snow all you want, okay? But if it's not right at the surface, you're not going to get snow, okay? So if you live south and east of this line right here, okay? I went a little too far south in Connecticut, but in general, okay? South and east of this line, okay? Because if you notice into northeastern Mass and coastal Maine, I mean, atmospheric temperatures at 1,000 feet are right. But the reason why is you've got a high pressure here, okay? The reason why it's not going to be snowing into these areas. And guess where the winds are going to be coming off of? The ocean. And temperatures off the ocean, temperatures in the ocean right now are 55 to 60 degrees. So guess what? When you have that, goes on shore, it's going to warm up the air temperatures. And guess what happens? You don't get snow. So this is the reason why we are not going to be talking about snow along the coastal areas, or even, we'll say, 20 miles inland, okay, because of this particular scenario. So, but in any case, we still have the cold air into the areas north and along and north and west of this line, okay? Now, to the south of this, we've got the warm air coming in. So what's important to note is we are below freezing, and this is around noontime, okay, in all of the areas that, I highlighted, okay, which is like this, okay? So all the areas I highlighted are below freezing as far as the temperatures at 1,000 feet, which is good, because that means that the ice crystals are not going to melt. Here is the Euro. Notice it's even colder, okay? We're talking well below zero, okay? So, that gives us more of a ripe environment, okay? So that is the situation as far as, the Euro is concerned. This is the Euro ensembles, very similar. Then the GFS. Let me tell you, the GFS is looking really good as well. This is the below zero line right in here. Okay, now of course, remember, this right in here is where we will be talking about the chances of snow. Okay, south and east of this, you're not going to get anything. Notice some of these areas are optimal at 1,000 feet. But if the surface temperature isn't optimal, guess what? You can have as many ice crystals as you want in 1,000 feet up, but once they hit the surface, they melt. Okay, so but where the surface temperatures are optimal, it is optimal at 1,000 feet as well. Then we look at 5,000 feet, because what happens if the 5,000 foot level is warmer? Okay, what if it's above freezing? Well, what'll happen is the ice crystal will come. You'll get the water. You'll get a water drop. It'll turn into a water droplet, and then guess what happens? It drops down to 1,000 feet, and then it refreezes. So we now get like a sleet pellet forming. Okay, and then it falls down as sleet. But we don't have that situation, because look what we've got. All of the areas where we're expecting, where we're expecting frozen precipitation, it's below freezing. So guess what? It is going to come down as snow. Okay. Some people are talking about, oh, it could be a wintry mix or this or this. No. Based upon the atmospheric conditions, it is going to be snow. It's not going to be a wintry mix. It's not going to be, it could perhaps be it will eventually turn over to a mix of rain and snow. But that's not really a wintry mix. When people think wintry mix, they think sleet, rain, combined with like some snow and maybe a little freezing rain. That's a wintry mix. But we're just going to be talking about snow, Rain and snow and rain. That's it. Okay, we're not really getting too complicated with different precipitation types, which is really good. Euro is the same. Okay, Euro ensembles at 5,000 feet. Okay, so this is around noontime. So what's going to happen is the precipitation field is going to enter into the area, and things will start as snow. Okay. Then what happens is we get some heavier precip entering into the area as this warm front enters the region. Now, here we go. This is when things get interesting. Here is our warm front right in here. Okay. Now what's happening is the temperatures at 1,000 feet are below freezing north and west of this line. Okay, so we are now above freezing. So what that means is if you're south and east of this line, you have now changed over to rain. So I would say Springfield will start out as snow. They will start out as snow, but they will change over to rain by at latest by supper time. Okay. We're talking Nashua, New Hampshire, Manchester, New Hampshire. Okay, those areas will Concord, New Hampshire is in there. So all of these areas, okay, Worcester, and then you have Leominster. All of these areas are going to start out as snow, but they will change over to rain by supper time. But who is going to be still snow, and who is still snow at this time is going to be very critical, because if you are snowing around supper time, this is when some heavy precip starts entering the area. So if you can be snowing around supper time, you are going to be picking up some good accumulations. The Adirondacks, the Green Mountains of Vermont, and the Berkshires. Okay, I do think that this is a little bit further to the south. Okay, based upon what I'm seeing here. Okay, and then of course northern New Hampshire and Maine, but it's not precipitating up in Maine at this point. Okay, but this is around supper time tomorrow. Here is the Euro. Euro outlines my thoughts very well. Okay, again, you are raining south and east of this line. Okay. You are raining south and east of this line. So you are going to be snowing very well into New York State, Vermont, the Berkshires, and into parts of New Hampshire. I am very confident about that at this point. And then there's the Euro ensembles, and then the GFS. I'll go ahead and show you where that line is. It's a little harder to see on this one because it's sort of color, but this is where it is. Okay. So what this indicates to me is that if you are south and east of this line, you are going to be rain. Now, what's going to happen here is and of course we also want to look at the 5,000 foot level, which it's going to be well below freezing into the area, or it's going to be below freezing into the areas that we just outlined. Okay, which is very important. Now, here is the thing, okay? Areas, these regions, okay, I'm going to outline them right now. Just this region right in here, okay? You are going to be heavy snow before you go over to some rain, okay? But it's not before there is going to be a real fight. This area is going to be where there is the most fighting going on with this storm system. Okay, that's where the most fighting is going to be going on. So I want to show you what the models are showing. Now, again, you have to sort of take this as sort of its own aspect. But at this point, okay, you can see that the GFS is saying, yeah, there's going to be some good snows into the Adirondacks. There is going to be a band of snow in the Berkshires, okay? There is going to be some snow into the White Mountains. Now, the problem is into the parts of Maine, right now some models aren't showing a lot. But I am pretty confident that there's going to be a significant impact. There's going to be some good snows up into these parts of Maine, or into that part of Maine. Now, I want to show you, I'm going to save the Euro for last, okay? But here is a Canadian model. This is the newest Canadian model. Again, the problem is it doesn't show as much into the White Mountains, doesn't show as much into the Green Mountains. The reason why perhaps is because perhaps the precipitation field doesn't reach these areas as intensely on the Canadian model. But notice you do have the good amounts of snow into Maine, which is very good. But the big thing here is that there are good amounts into the Berkshires. Okay, the Berkshires and, of course, the Adirondacks. Okay. This is sort of zooming in. So where in specifically into parts of New England, who's going to pick up the most snow? Well, according to the Canadian, it's going to be these regions right in here. Okay, right in there. This is the high resolution Canadian. It's a shorter range model. Okay, and you can see this is outlining very nicely what I'm thinking. You've got the good amounts of snow right into the Adirondacks. You've got some good snows into the Berkshires, some good snows into the White Mountains, and then here comes that, let me tell you, Maine and the Adirondacks are going to certainly be the jackpots, but not to diminish what's going to be happening into the Berkshires and the White Mountains, because some of these folks will be picking up some good amounts. This sort of zooming in here, and you know, you can see this is a good amount of snow right in here. This is about 6 inches plus. Okay, this is a higher resolution of the Canadian, and let me tell you, if this is right, some of these folks in here, we'd be talking about well over, we'd be nearing 8 inches of snow. We're also looking at, you know, over a foot into parts of the Adirondacks. Okay, and then this is the sort of the wider view. The problem with this model is it doesn't really show anything into the western parts of Maine. Okay, here's the NAM. Okay, I would say this is what you should be expecting as far as snowfall, because it's on the lighter side. So you've got the Adirondacks, you've got the Berkshires, and then you've, of course, got what's going on here in the White Mountains is virtually nothing. But I don't necessarily buy that at this point. But just expect this at this point. This is zooming in, you know, you're looking at about 3 to 6 inches right in here. Here's the high-resolution NAM, and basically what this is it basically takes into account elevation, it takes into account a bunch of different aspects, sort of like what we just looked at a couple minutes ago, you know, with the different temperatures at the different levels of the atmosphere. And notice it highlights it better. You know, you've got, you know, the highlight, you know, you've got the good amounts into the Adirondacks. You've now got, you know, good amounts going across all the Green Mountains and into the Berkshires. You've also got the heavy amounts into the White Mountains, but you've also got the good amounts into Maine. So that is, you know, very close to my thinking. Zooming in, you can see 3 to 6 inches plus into some of these areas of the Berkshires and things like that. I do want to, let me see which one. We'll go to the We'll go to the Canadian here. There is going to be snow outside of the Berkshires and, you know, the Adirondacks. There is going to be snow, and, you know, it'll be more of a novelty item, meaning it's going to be more of a conversational piece. People on Facebook posting, "Oh my God, it's snowing! It's the end of the world." Maybe up to a couple inches, but I wouldn't see too much more than that into some of these areas. Now, here comes the Euro. So prepare yourself. Okay, so this is a very good outline of what I'm seeing here. So clearly the Adirondacks, clearly the Berkshires, I mean, clearly the White Mountains, and then of course you've got the snows in Maine. So, you know, this and the Euro has been extremely consistent with its forecast here. If anything, it's gotten more enhanced as time has gone on. So, I mean, I am pretty confident that these areas are going to pick up good amounts. I mean, look at the White Mountains, nearing 18 inches of snow. So, at this particular point in time, I think it's safe to say that this is a good forecast at this point. Not ready to go to the 6 to 12, going in through the Green Mountains into the Berkshires, but don't be surprised if that happens. Don't be surprised at all. I am highly concerned about the Berkshires. I mean, as you saw, there are many models indicating that the Berkshires could see over 6 inches of snow. I just think that you know, with the way this event is happening, and again, someone is going to pick up a good amount of snow. They have to with this particular storm, because you've got the cold air entrenched and you've got this warm, moist air. So there is a battle going on, and these areas are going to be below freezing. This creates a perfect environment for heavy snow to occur. Not to diminish or not to you know, not make a fuss about it, but I mean, it's people shouldn't really be making a fuss about it. Up to an inch of snow into these regions right here. The areas that are included in this, these are some of the bigger cities, not huge cities. We're not talking like Boston, New York City, or anything like that. But I mean, we've got Springfield seeing up to an inch of snow. We've got, you know, perhaps Leominster seeing up to an inch of snow. We've got Greenfield. I mean, we've got Keene, New Hampshire. So all of these areas, bigger cities, but not huge cities, these folks are going to be seeing up to an inch of snow. Maybe a couple inches. And then, of course, you got 1 to 3 just to the north and west of that. But again, my concern right now is the Berkshires, that they could see a little bit more than what I have. But I think 3 to 6 is a good bet at this point. Let's just say this is going to be an interesting storm system for these people. This is sort of zooming into into New England here. So again, notice the up to an inch is north of Hartford. That is very important. I do not believe there will be snow in Hartford here. However, yes, there will be snow in the Springfield area. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if this 1 to 3 comes awfully close to Springfield. Okay, but at this time, I'm just not ready to do that. I would say, you know, up to an inch, maybe 2 inches into this lighter shading area. But I would go a solid 1 to 3 into these regions. Okay. And again, you've got your 3 to 6. And again, some of these areas, I just think, with how everything is working out, since they are, a lot of those areas are above 1,500 feet, I just think there is going to be reports of over 6 inches into some of these areas. So that is my thoughts on this upcoming storm system. It is very, very interesting. Yes, I know it's a 30-minute video, but that's why I'm here. I am always the one who goes in depth into explaining storm systems and my thoughts. This is based upon a wide array of models. It's based upon, just sort of common sense about meteorology and things like this. So those are my thoughts. We'll see what happens. And of course, I am going to be visiting these parts tomorrow, so I will be able to tell you what happened into those regions. So I am looking forward to it, and we will be. I'm very excited about that. First snow of the season. So we'll see what happens, and it'll probably be a little while before we have another video like this because I don't really see over the course of the next couple weeks any snowstorms. So be a little while, but until then, take care.